Welcome everyone. We are here for a special edition trailer discussion kind of reaction thing. I am Peter, joined by Tim, the Screams After Midnight team, to discuss the first trailer, well, actually, correction, first two trailers for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which we've been waiting on, knowing that the release date for this movie is in November, and we got to October and there was still no trailer, which is very weird. We were pretty much convinced it was going to be delayed, but then here we are with two trailers. It's almost like like one was meant to be the second trailer that came out now, and the first one was meant to be out like 2 or 3 months ago, and they just forgot to click the button, and they went, shit.
Like someone walked into like someone's cubicle and was like, "Hey Tom, you put out the Resident Evil trailer, right? Because we're about to do the second one." And he was like, "Oh crap, yeah, I'll take care of it."
So so we had some set photos which looked like they were trying to recreate like scenes from the games, like where they had like the mansion, the RPD building, things like that. Now, admittedly, as we're both fans of the games, we both hate the previous movies. So
yes.
Obviously the idea that they're going to try and be more faithful is good. However, yes, the news that's been worrying me since day one of this like being announced, the concept that's so concerning, is the fact that they're somehow squeezing both the first and second game together.
Yes.
Which not only is that potentially too much for one movie, like those two plots like don't intermingle. It's not like one follows on from the other, or like there's clearly going to be some weird melding of them that doesn't. Anyway, we'll get into what we see in the trailer, because the trailer maybe implies some things, and that's what we're really here to talk about. So, I guess the question is, Tim, is how do you feel after the trailers?
So it's very interesting because the whole movie has been kind of a roller coaster. It's one of those ones where you hear about it and you get excited, then you hear something else and you get a little less excited. And then you hear something else, you get a little bit more excited. Then you see some photos, and maybe you get a little less excited. Then it's you kind of keep going up and down. So yeah, like I was very happy that they were. I think originally all we knew is that they were gonna reboot it and it was gonna be darker. I think at one point did they say James Wan was involved, or was that the TV show?
No, I think it was Wan, but that was when it was going to be based on Seven, I think.
Oh, okay.
Briefly, and then it changed. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to remember everything because there was so much news about they're doing that first, and then there's talks about like a live action Netflix show, which I don't know if they're still doing.
Still apparently happening.
Okay, interesting.
That's the one where it's like two timelines and it's like different generations of the Wesker family, and it's got nothing to do with this movie. It's its own continuity, its own thing.
Wait, so is it going to be like Wesker in the Old West and then like Wesker in modern day? Like...
No, it's Wesker and then like Wesker's kids in the future.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
that's the reaction. That's interesting.
Okay. Wait, Wesker's kid, is that the guy from Resident Evil 6?
Well, in the games, I don't know if they're going to continue that. It was something like that. If I'm slightly off, like it's been a while since I read that.
Who knows? It could possibly be good. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. There's so much different news about different Resident Evil projects. It was whatever. But I'm glad that they're rebooting it and that they're gonna. Looks like they're doing it closer to the games. And then the director, I forget his name. Is it Johannes? How is it?
Johannes Roberts.
Yeah. So he did Strangers Pray at Night, right? And then.
Well, I'll click on him and find out. I was not aware of that off the top of my head. Yeah, he did 47 Meters Down 1 and 2.
That's it, yeah.
And he did Strangers Pray at Night, yeah.
So so that's interesting because those aren't like bad movies, but they're not movies that I love. So it's kind of like I'm not super excited about this director, but at the same time, it's not like I don't have like that dread of the director from the last movies or something, like it's not as bad as like someone that's like, oh no, I hate this guy. So it's kind of like, all right, well, I think there was like some good stuff, like especially in like Strangers Pray at Night, like that pool scene was really well done. So I don't know, maybe we'll get some more of that. And then we started seeing some set photos, and like some of the location stuff looked pretty cool. And then like we saw some of the characters, which I think we talked about that like online a little bit. They kind of thought they just looked a little weird and generic.
They look kind of cosplay-esque in a lot of ways, yeah.
But yeah, today though, I mean, what we're here to talk about, we finally get the trailer, and I've seen like it looks like some people are having mixed reactions online. Like I've seen some people being like, meh. Honestly, I thought that I'm kind of excited about the trailer. I definitely don't think it'll be perfect. There was like some CGI in it that I wasn't really loving.
I think that's an understatement. Some of the CG, like some of it looks really rough. Like this is a cheap movie. I think that the one complaint that I have seen is that the biggest complaint is that it feels kind of like a fan movie, right?
Okay.
Because of the budget, because it does feel very cheap. The CG looks very cartoony. That doesn't matter that much if the actual movie's good, though. If the script is good, if the direction's good, if the characters are good. I think what concerns me more is that there's a lot of things, especially the main trailer, and by the main one I mean the first one that got shared around today, which has the weird song choice for the trailer. There's a lot of bad kind of one-liners. There's definitely a lot of things that feel like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of fan service, and we see a lot of fans, and we'll talk about some of those fan servicey things in the trailers that we obviously noticed. But
you should label this video like 10 Easter eggs in the Resident Evil trailer.
But I still got the impression this movie's probably going to, like, I think the best case scenario is this is a good silly B movie. I don't think there's any chance of this just being a genuinely good movie after seeing these trailers.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm still a little hopeful. I think my basic outcome after the trailer is I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I don't think it's gonna be a good horror movie. Like it doesn't look like they're gonna capture the sense of like dread that you get in the games. And I mean, admittedly, like, there's also like really cheesy stuff, built into the games. But I think like later entries, especially like, with the remakes and like 7 and 8, they have definitely gone into like, a bit of a more serious, more like horror route that, I was hoping would be replicated more. But I mean, yeah, it does look like there's got to be cheesiness, some one-liners, and maybe a little bit more action than like, some of maybe the more like slower kind of dread and building stuff. One thing I am kind of interested in is if the zombies are going to be like fast or slow, because that is going to annoy me if they're going to make like fast zombies that are like doing that stereotypical zombie scream and running at you. Because I did get some, like, you didn't really see the zombies like moving too much, but like I don't know, I can kind of see them going into that, but
not
I
much.
don't.
I think there's a couple of hints though, especially in the second trailer. There's a couple of hints, I think. I just sorry.
That was.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, just to kind of actually finish my thought real quick. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't think it's gonna be like an amazing film that we're like, oh no, this perfectly captures the spirit of the games. But especially compared to like the last movies we got, I think it'll be fan servicey, but I can see it being fun in a way though. So that's where I'm coming at.
I'm not discounting it could be fun, but I was definitely getting like a lot of fan service, but not necessarily a lot of quality from the trailer.
Sure.
There's definitely scenes from both trailers where, like, there's definitely some stuff early on where Claire goes to see Chris, and I do like that we get to see Claire and Chris interact. Claire actually gets top billing in the movie, which is cool. She's probably my favorite playable character of the games, so I'm cool with that. So that's nice, but and it's the actress from Crawl who's playing Claire, so that's neat.
From Crawl?
From Crawl, yeah.
Oh, the alligator
movie. Yeah.
I was thinking like a show for some reason. I was like,
we did that movie, Tim.
Right. Yeah,
we talked about it. I think she's a pretty solid choice. The cast by and large are kind of hit and miss. Some look like the characters, some don't.
I mean, you get whatever. Like, I don't really care about like you can change people's looks or whatever. But like, the guy that I think is supposed to be Leon, I definitely didn't know was Leon at first.
Yeah, he's very different. It's that but there's a lot of locations you see in this. You see a bit of the foyer, the mansion. You see a bit of the main hall, the RPD building. You get the truck from the start of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah,
you get some very specific moments. I think you see the dining room from the mansion as well a few times, at least in the second trailer. There's fan servicey things like that. There's other things I noticed in there. Obviously, they do the classic shot of the first zombie turning around.
Right.
That's there. Obviously, it's a very different context, but you see "Itchy Tasty" written on a window. That's a classic line from Resident Evil 1.
It looks like they're doing. I think I saw Lisa from the first remake, isn't it?
Yeah, Lisa's there from the remake, which is cool. She was a great addition to that first game when they redid that. But you've got all that, but you do have a lot of things to kind of explain, which is kind of weird. Like, so Claire's already kind of like this conspiracy nut about Umbrella, which is a little bit strange. And my question is like, wait, did the STARS team go to the mansion whilst the Resident Evil 2 stuff is happening? Is that simultaneous? Because the way Chris is talking to Claire when she shows up in the city does not sound to me like he's already been through the experience in the mansion.
Actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because if that's the case, at that point, he should be like, holy crap, zombies are real, and you got to get out of here. Like,
yeah. In fact, there's an actor in this that I quite like. Donald Logue's in this movie, and I didn't realise who he was playing. Yeah. But in the second trailer, someone refers to him as Chief Irons. And I will say that I don't think I get from this. Now, admittedly, it's only some quick glimpses, but the way he's like yelling out and like trying to survive with everyone else doesn't feel like he's going to be the Chief Irons from Resident Evil 2.
Right, yeah. Seems more of a like team player.
Yeah.
In this one.
I mean, maybe he'll still have a dark past or whatever, but Chief Irons in Resident Evil 2 seems sketchy from the second you meet him, and he is into some effed up shit. Like that oh, yeah. You know, Chief Irons is not like part of the team. He's not trying to survive like everyone else is. But you know, it feels like we're doing William, we're doing Sherry. We see what's his face from Arrow in that playing William Birkin.
The guy that played Oliver Queen from Arrow?
No, Damien Dark.
Oh. And I'm sorry, I didn't watch Arrow. I don't know the actors.
No. It's funny you say that, though, because Chris is played by Robbie Amell, who is related to Stephen Amell, who plays Oliver Queen. So it's funny you said that, but no. I guess the weird thing about shoving all this into one movie as well is that it does certainly look like some characters who should feel like bigger deals are going to be basically just smaller side characters. Like it kind of feels like Claire's the main character, which is great, don't get me wrong, but it does kind of feel like Leon and Jill are just going to be kind of like other characters who are there. Maybe more so than like, you know, your Brad or your you know, your other kind of like other side characters that were actually side characters in the game. Like Ada, like I don't think I saw her in the trailer, but Ada is listed on the cast list. Oh. So it's a lot for one movie. It's a lot of characters for one movie, so they're not all going to get like time. Some of them are going to just be, you know, borderline cameos, I imagine.
Yeah, it would be so funny if they made a Resident Evil movie and like the main star was Brad Vickers. But what the hell? Like, all right.
So here's the thing: the CG is not very good, but the zombies look like zombies. The dogs look like zombie dogs. The liquor looks design-wise pretty good. The monster, who I think is supposed to be William, looks a bit shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, do we need to get like a Sonic thing going? Like the way they got him to change his teeth. Can we get him to
completely redesign the final what I presume is going to be the final monster of the story?
Yeah. Because I think I'm like maybe being a little more forgiving than you. Most people like I didn't think the CGI was great, but I mean I was kind of the same thing. I was like, yeah, you know, the dogs are looking, it looks the same, but yeah, when they get that final shot of the monster, I'm like, okay, now this is even hard for me to justify.
Yeah, do you know what? Like the liquors are great, and I get that we're doing Resident Evil 2 stuff in the police station, but can I just say that I feel really pissed that the hunters are just overlooked constantly. As far as like good monsters,
that's true.
Like I like the hunters more than the lickers. The hunters were like such a big deal when I got to them in that first game. It's just so annoying to me that they're just so overlooked.
That's a good point. I love the hunters. They're great.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think the way they're squishing this together is frustrating because it means there's a lot of things from Resident Evil 1 that are going to be overlooked and glossed over. Like I don't expect a tyrant in this. You know, I
love the tyrant so much. It's yeah, and you gotta wonder like what the logic of it is, because I mean the reason why you do anything like this, I mean, it's not really that surprising, but like every company wants to have the next big franchise, some kind of IP that they can milk. So like if they're trying to do that and like they want to start a franchise, like wouldn't it be better to have more stories to work from than like instead of like cramming like enough stories into like into one movie? Like when you want to save it so in case it's a hit you can be like, oh well, now we'll adapt this one and this one and this one.
Yeah, and I
it's
think
very strange.
And I think the trailer gets that across, that there's going to be certain things that if you're a fan of the game should feel like a big deal, but they just feel like the side characters. And Claire's probably my favorite. Like I said, Claire's probably my favorite playable character in the games. So I'm actually kind of like psyched that she's getting the spotlight, because I feel like most people would pick Leon over Claire, and I fight that every chance I get. But
I mean, I like Leon a lot, but I mean, I'm a big fan of Claire as well. But I mean, I also really like Jill a lot, which it kind of stinks that it sounds like she's not in this that much.
I mean, she's there. I mean, she's third build, but I don't know how much that's going to extend to really at that point. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, Leon's pretty far down the cast. Leon's like after Irons as far as like the cast list goes.
It's kind of weird because Leon does kind of seem like a fan favorite that you'd want to spotlight him a bit more. I mean, I'm not complaining because I do like Claire as well, and then it could still be cool anyway. But it seems like I don't know, that would be someone that they would, I don't know that a lot of fans like or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think my worry is just how truncated it's going to be. As far as the actual like moments we see in the trailer, the second trailer keeps a better tone because it doesn't have the pop song playing over the top of it, which just felt so out of place. And it showed a bit more of the RPD, and it showed a bit more of like Chris in the dining room, the zombie crawling towards them, that stuff. Like, is neat.
And speaking of that pop song, because I was actually talking to a friend about it. So the friend I was talking to actually enjoyed it, and my takeaway was, I think it's totally fine for the trailer, but I'm gonna be really mad if like it's like that throughout the whole movie, especially if it's like multiple, like what do you call it, like sound bites and stuff that they're using. That would be really annoying.
Yeah, it would be against the mood that I would want from a Resident Evil movie to have like popular songs playing like throughout.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just not the. I think the thing that disappoints me as well is that one thing they're never seemingly going to do properly in a Resident Evil movie is have them like solve puzzles, like actual.
That's true, yeah.
Or to have to find keys or like, and I'm not saying you can't obviously put everything that's in the games into the movie. I'm not saying they have to spend, like, it would be ridiculous if in the movie they had to go through the mansion and find 8 keys.
Right.
Like, that would be stupid in a movie.
Or like all this real time backtracking to a room you just been to.
But I do think there's ways to kind of like work through the set pieces and have to solve some of the more like standalone puzzles or something like.
Totally.
But yeah, sure, maybe I'm describing my dream scenario of like how you handle a Resident Evil movie, but I guess in some ways, like, it's already in its perfect form. It's already in its perfect medium, which is video games. But
yeah, I mean that's why, like, with adaptations, it's hard to get like. I mean, obviously, I would love just a great one that really knocks it out of the park. But at the end of the day, it's like, even if it's bad, yeah, you still have the original thing that you can always go back to. But I mean, it would be really nice if it does actually end up being quite good.
Yeah, but it does look pretty cheap. Like it looks like it's like it may be successful just because it is a cheap movie. Like it might make a decent amount of money just in comparison to the fact that the budget is quite low. But
now. I guess a big question too about it though is, because I mean they say it right in the trailer, this is only going to be available in theaters. Is this something you'll go to the theater to see?
I mean, if it's just left to me and we're not doing a review on it right away, then probably not. But if you say you're going and we can do an episode, then I probably will. Not to pass the buck to Tim, but
well, I mean, I actually did go to the movies last weekend for the first time.
What was the first movie you saw?
I mean, I don't think it's. I think it should be pretty obvious, but I mean, Venom, let there be carnage, of course.
Oh yeah, I think I seen a tweet about that. And I think I remember thinking that's what he like broke his fasting with his
Another
movie fasting.
Sony classic. And Venom ruled, by the way. Oh my god, it's
Oh,
so good.
I don't one cares.
It was great.
No one
it was
cares.
great.
So
Carnage, my boy, Woody Harrelson.
I mean, I think this movie's heart's in the right place. But I don't know if that's going to actually translate to quality. So
Yeah.
it kind of looks like a big budget fan movie. It looks like a low budget movie, but it looks like a big budget fan movie. And I don't know where it's going to fall in terms of how it feels when we see it. But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Maybe I'll enjoy it. But I think my concern is right now it's going to be like a crib notes of two stories that to make it work as one story is going to overlook a lot of things that I wish it didn't overlook, and that might suck.
Yeah, I would say that's the most concerning thing. Also, the most baffling thing. Again, why are you doing it this way? But who knows? I mean, again, I'll kind of hold out hope.
Especially if it's a hit, and then it's like, well, now you wanted to make as many as possible, and you've wasted the first two in one movie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's why it's such an odd choice, because you like you want to have like franchise potential, and then you're basically just cutting off like a possible sequel you could have already done. But,
I mean, what do you do next? Like somehow mix 3 and Code Veronica into one story? Like, that's not possible.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do 3, but then like, you know, is Jill gonna be a big enough character in this one to if they're gonna have her be the main character? And then do you also mix it with another game as well? It's very odd. Do you do a prequel, Resident Evil 0?
If anything, you do one on its own, and then 2 and 3 are the ones you can kind of mix because Jill's in the city, you know, around
that
the
makes
same.
A lot more sense.
I mean, it won't be now because they're playing with a timeline and changing things, but at least if you were basing it on the games, like you could mix 2 and 3, kind of.
Yeah. Can I make maybe kind of a weird nitpick, but something that does kind of bother me?
Sure.
I don't like this title. I think it's a very bad title.
The title sucks. It's like, why isn't it just called Resident Evil? It does not make any sense. Like, I appreciate the fun is more like the actual game. That's good. Take the washes out that stupid "my name is Alice" crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a terrible title. Like, see if they called it Resident Evil: Biohazard or Resident Evil,
there you go.
something just to differentiate it, sure. But like, or just Resident Evil Origins, even. I mean that's a bit generic, but it's still better than Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Like, what?
Yeah, I do not like it at all.
Yeah, it's a terrible title. I mean, even just Resident Evil Raccoon City would be better than Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah, I mean, we're two pretty big fans of the game, and we hate it. If you're not a fan of the game, then I can't imagine you'd like it. You'd probably just be a little confused or think it's stupid. Like,
I mean, to end this on a positive, I will say this at least. The fact that it seems to want to embrace lots of things from the games, even if I think it's going to, like, you know, maybe shortchange certain things, at least the fact that it wants to use things from the games is still a massive improvement from the previous movies.
Yeah, they got so off the track, and then it was. I mean, it already started off like with barely anything resembling the games, and then they tried to incorporate stuff later, but it still just was so far.
It was all like, okay, we're going to include this character now as a token, like, oh, so the fans will shut up, so this character's in it. Yeah, but then that character's just there to struggle so that then Alice will look cool when Alice saves them. Like, that became kind of a trend in those movies. And it kind of made you resent Alice. If you're a fan of the games, you resented her. I
like Mila Jovovich, but like, not a fan of those movies.
If she stopped acting in her shitty husband's movies, then maybe I'd like her more. But I don't know if you saw Monster Hunter, Tim, but it wasn't good.
I haven't, but I was kind of interested in that just because, like, all right, I don't know anything about the game, so will I enjoy this? But I'll probably watch it eventually, but I'm not.
All right, well,
I think one thing I will say, because I didn't get to talk about it that much. I think we kind of talked about maybe doing a podcast about it, but again, I was so busy with newborn baby stuff. But I will say that I beat Resident Evil 8, and I absolutely loved it. That was a great game.
Oh yeah. I think we were meant to do the one for Resident Evil 3 as well, the remake. I don't think we ever got around to it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because we did like a big spoiler discussion on the second remake, right?
And I had a lot of thoughts on 3.
Interesting. Right.
So, what I will say is that it does have a good poster. I don't know if you've seen the poster for this, but it's
I don't think
it's
so.
it's the RPD, but in front of the RPD there is an umbrella, which is an actual umbrella, but it is like the red and white. But it's
cool.
just sitting on the ground and it's raining. It's a nice image. The tagline, "Witness the beginning of evil." Not so much.
What's funny is I've been going through. I've been posting on Twitter my Octoberthon viewings because we're at the start of October, so I've been watching not as many horror movies as I have in previous years, but I still manage to usually watch like at least a couple a day. So usually we'll post like the poster and what I'm watching on Twitter, and man, there's just so many movies that have just such great little like taglines or something on the poster, and I feel like we don't really get that many good ones nowadays.
Nah. So, yeah. I'd say the main trailer that went out today was probably a bad trailer, but I recognize some fun fan servicey things in it. The second trailer was better tone, showed a few more interesting things from the games, but ultimately it just doing fan service things from the games isn't necessarily going to be enough to make it a good movie. So
right.
So we'll see. I mean, obviously, I hope it's good, but I've been hurt before. I don't, so there we go. Like I said, that's about does it. Thank you for joining us. You can like and subscribe, comment down below what you think of the trailers. Let us know what you think of the potential of this movie. What you thought of the last movies, and mention if you're coming from being a fan of the games or just not, and just seeing the trailer and but you can do all that. You can support us on patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month if you want to help keep all the content coming, but otherwise that is us. And of course, if you're stumbled onto this and don't know who we are, we do a horror movie podcast called Screams After Midnight, as you see in the screen there, and that is up in this channel constantly. So thank you very much. But thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.